Back with the 8 wastes of lean manufacturing. So, um, while the idea of fix what bugs you is really good and very simple, it is kind of nice to be able to classify the different kind of wastes so that you can um, basically start to like search for them. It's kind of like a little scavenger hunt, where you're just looking for these kind of wastes in your processes, and you then try and minimize them, and those kind of spur on your improvements. So I'm just going to try and relate each of these wastes to the film industry so I can kind of explain them a little bit in terms that you'll understand. So the first one is transportation. So, maybe you're on a job and production is not super clear about what they want to do. So we just order two of everything and well, at least we got something. But now we have all of this. You'll see all of this stuff is very intertwined. Now we have all of this excess inventory, which is the next one. Um, and maybe now we have to get a bigger truck or something, um, and we have to haul around all that gear now. Um, and it's all stuff that we don't really need. So that kind of explains transportation and inventory. Um, and then motion is basically, like let's say we pull the carts off the truck, you get it in the staging, and because there's just so much stuff on the carts, you end up searching around, walking back and forth trying to find a specific item. And so that would be excess motion. So then you get everything set up, you light the shot, you're like, okay, we're going to shoot. But now you are waiting on sound. So that is another waste. So then overproduction, that would be if, let's just say that the gaffer has you head up a bunch of lights that you don't end up using. That would be overproduction. Overprocessing is basically just doing a bunch of non-value added work that is never seen in the final product. So just an example is like, you bring in, let's say, a sky panel or something, and you run power for it, you set the stand for it and everything, and then you end up using it at like 2%, something like that. Um, that is over processing. Maybe you could have used a piece of beadboard instead. Um, Defects. So defects would be like, maybe when you got all of that gear, because there was so much stuff, it wasn't all packed properly and it was just kind of chucked in there. And that would lead to defects. Maybe a light broke, something like that. And so, in dealing with these 7 wastes here, the people on the crew were frustrated, and because they're just struggling to keep up with all the excess inventory and the excess motion and waiting, and the overproduction and all that. They didn't really have any time to improve any of the processes. So you have all this wasted employee genius or unutilized talent. So that kind of explains the 8 wastes, and I think that as you start to improve, you'll really start to see like, oh, maybe that was over processing, and I should we'll take that step out of this process. Um, or you start to realize that like you just have so much excess inventory and that you could sell things, or you could maybe drop things from your list because you have something else that'll do something that's similar. um, so next we're just going to kind of dissect one of the the rigging crate process a little bit more, just so I can um, show you the wastes that were involved in this. So, mostly it's excess motion. I would say, excess motion is dumping the crate out. Um, that's definitely a non-value added step. And then we're going to watch this on 2x speed because there's no need to dwell on it. So the other thing that that we really noticed was putting a zip tie on this pin bag here so that we didn't have to check it. It's really over processing because there is another way to do this where we don't use a zip tie, we don't use the bag. It's still just as organized, and still just as easy. Um, let's see, is there any other wastes involved in this? I would just say that the last one here is unutilized talent or wasted employee genius, just because they're spending all this time counting this stuff when you could be improving something else. So, yeah, hopefully that gives you a little bit of a better idea of the wastes.